Hey, everybody, welcome back to Wrestling Travels Lockdown Sessions, presented to you here on YouTube every day, almost every day, every other day, a couple times a week, but it's always presented to you by our friends over in New York City, True Heel Heat Podcast, True Heel Heat Wrestling. I got SP3, JJ, the beautiful, lovely Miss Chrissy Love over there. Always check them out. I'm always learning stuff from them, and they're entertaining. So please check out True Heel Heat. It's TRU, no E. They got rid of the E. I was going to be all smart like WWE got rid of the E, but they didn't. But more importantly, I got here drinking his British tea, Sabotage. Welcome.
Oh, mug. Yes. Thank you for having me, sir.
I've been wanting to do
fantastic.
this. Good. We're already like stepping over each other's words, so it's going to be a good interview. There's always there's always like a lag sometimes on Zoom, and then there'll be times where in real time it'll freeze up. And I wait a second, and you'll finish your sentence. I've learned this, and then when we're in this recording, there's no lag in it at all. So if I talk over, and there's been several times where I'm interviewing big stars and they'll freeze up, and I'll be like, oh shit, we lost them. When the tape comes back or the recording, there is no lag, so I'm just interrupting somebody in the middle of their thing. A lot of people go, hey, but enough behind the scenes. Let's get started. I want to talk to you about wrestling. How long have you been in the business there, Sabotage?
Let's see. I'm 20 years old now, and I guess I've been in it since I was 12 years old, actually. So I guess the story, I started refereeing when I was 12 years old. I was trained by, he was a local indie guy in Illinois, still a great friend of mine, and mentor to me to this day, named Tony Rican. So my dad had a friend from his work, and his friend's wife actually worked with Tony. So somehow we got connections, and me and my dad said, if you work for me for all summer, I'll split the money with you, and we could buy a wrestling ring. So we bought a 12 by 12 wrestling ring, not 18 by 18, not 20 by 20, 12 by 12. So, and when I was 12 years old, it was fine size for me, good training ring. So, one thing led to another. We got Tony in, trained me every Saturday. And then you mentioned there was a guy named Cujo you mentioned earlier, but this is a different Cujo. This is the guy who was a manager, and he wrestles kind of now, but he's just wrestles at one company in Indiana right now. But he was like my training partner for about a year, and Tony, trained me every Saturday for like a year, maybe 2 years, and just in this 12 by 12 wrestling ring. And then but like first 5 months into it, the opportunity came where someone pitched the idea about, hey, why don't we give him refereeing so he knows what like a show is? And Tony's like, that'd be a good idea. Let's get him refereeing. So I had my first referee match. Man, I think it was July 2012, and Rhino was at the show, and I don't think I refereed him, but I did a seminar, I know, and so it was 2012 July, so I refereed for about 4 years, and it was at a company called Fire Pro Wrestling, which is now Under. It was in Maryville, Indiana, and there was a couple other Indiana promotions I refereed at, but 2016 came, and I was 16 years old, and I was like, hey, it's time to start wrestling, and even though that might be earlier than a lot of people getting into it, I was just like, hey, this is what I want to do. Needs to start wrestling. So I had my debut match, I think August 2016, at a place called NGW, just little Indiana promotion, and had a match, did what I did, and then been wrestling since then, till now, just trying to be the wrestler then just get better every week, to get a show every week. And, I could be working harder. I think I'm always hard on myself. I should be. My goal is to wrestle, every day a week if I could, that'd be amazing. But obviously, like, now it's tough. But yeah, so I guess for your question, I've been about 8 years, I would say.
But now when somebody asks you, like, who are you trained by, like when you get into a locker room and they want to know, like,
so I guess Tony,
what's your answer?
So yeah, Tony, I guess Tony's not my answer. That's just how I got into it. But yeah, so I was trained by Harley Race, and I was like his last class before he passed away in 2018. So instead of going to college, I told my parents, I said, hey, like, this is my dream, And I got this dreamer's disease, man. So it's just it's all up in me. So instead of going to college, I'm thankful for the parents I have, because, a lot of people, I know you were saying that, your parents didn't really like the idea, but my parents are all for me, man. And they just support me like no one else. And they're the greatest parents in the world. And so they paid for, instead of going to college, they paid for a wrestling school at Harley Race. And then after I did that, I went to Black and Brave Wrestling Academy, which is Seth Rollins' school. Also, you got Merrick Brave there training. You got a wrestler named Crotch as well training there. And I loved every second of it. So I wouldn't trade it, even at 20, I wouldn't trade it for anything so far. So I enjoyed, so that's where I was trained. And my main trainers, in a locker room, like you said, I would say Harley Race and Seth Rollins. It does sound more appealing, I guess, but that's who I tell.
That's what we were kind of talking about off air. It's no secret that obviously people will tell by watching this that you and I have known of each other for quite a while. So this is going to be a little bit of a different style interview where I'm going, hey,
yeah,
we got to make sure that I fill in the gaps here with stuff that we already know. So, yeah, we were talking, sometimes you meet a guy and like, who trained you? And it's like Bob Smith. And I got to go back and find out who trained Bob Smith. And it's like Bill Johnson. And we got to go back sometimes 4 or 5 generations before I'm like, okay, I recognize that name. And I know wrestling is a sport of, you train with Harley, you train with Seth, but you're always learning.
Yeah,
you're going to learn till the day you retire. Because the sport evolves. Like we were just on a show with Rhino, and you learn from Rhino. Rhino did a seminar, but Rhino's also learning from, okay, what are these kids doing? So let me I've talked to Robbie, your tag team partner, Collateral Damage, the Renegade.
Yep.
I talked to him about this for training at Seth, and I was like, man, how much, what was it like getting in the ring with Seth? And he goes, hey, well, you don't really get in the ring with Seth too much because obviously Seth can't afford to get injured by something. But now Harley Race's last class, how much, is Harley sitting in a chair? I know when I trained with Eddie was just sitting in a chair giving stuff out. But is your day to day? Are you getting to soak up the knowledge from the kid?
So now with Rollins, I will say I did take Irish whip to a clothesline, so a little bit more than Robbie had. But there was a kid in our class that got the crap beat out of him by Rollins, and he didn't understand the concept of selling. And Rollins, I think it's on the Black and Brave Instagram, somewhere down the feed. But that kid that got beat by Rollins. So, but me and Robbie, honestly, it was kind of more lucky that we didn't get, because if we did, get hit by Rollins, it probably wasn't for the good. So, but Harley, he was just like Rollins, was actually there every day. Hardworking guy, just always making time for the school. Harley was there every day as well, and he was in a wheelchair or a motorized chair, I guess. And he always had a cigarette. The guy always has cigarette, Diet Coke, and he was all in Leland race. His son was the head trainer. But there was times that he'd come out and watch stuff and critique us and stuff like that for spots and stuff. But there was I did like we didn't get in the ring of Harley, but there was a time where I guess Harley, old school, toughest man in the game, and something came up about his front face lock, and we were learning front face lock, and we're like, yeah. Or Leland was saying, yeah, he had the toughest. He'd make you pass out like that. And someone in our class is just like, really? Like, can I see? And Harley just in his chair, come here, kid. He puts him in the front face lock, and he wrenched it. And so I then the next guy's like, oh, I want to feel it. And I was like, dude, I might as well feel it too. So we all got into Harley's front face lock. And the guy, for how old he was, he still had a vicious grip. So yeah, but they were both, always there every day. That's why I do like saying that I was trained by them, because it's not just because like the name of the school has their name on it and that's the label. No, like I was legitimately trained by them. So that's what I'm kind of proud of. So it's cool that they were always there,
Yeah, you should be, and you should be proud, and that is important, because there is a lot of man, I forget who tells the story about training at the Hart Brothers camp, and then there's so many stories of that my name's on the camp, come in and say hi, collect the check, and see you later, and now here my other trainers are. But man, it had to be. Did Harley, and this is, we didn't talk about this before, but did he sit around? Did you get any that you can share? Any like cool BS stories? Did he kind of go, hey, let me tell you a story about one time or anything, or did he just kind of stick to the training?
There was no, there had to be some stories, man. Like I remember it was like it was more like he couldn't really tell the story anymore, but he would be like, I remember that. But like Leland would talk about like his bar fights, or I know there was one story. I don't know if he said it, but it was someone got hurt, and I remember it was something like someone got hurt in the back, and at the promotion they didn't have like insurance or something. Like he got hurt outside the wrestling ring, so it didn't count for the liability or the insurance of the federation, maybe. And so I hope I'm telling the story right. And so the guy got hurt and was like, oh, let's say he broke his arm or something like that, and the guy's like, hey, you didn't get hurt in the ring, that's not our problem. And Harley was there. He's like, I saw it. He took a clothesline in the ring. And the guy's like, no, he didn't. He got hurt outside the ring. And Harley would be like, I saw it. He got hurt inside the ring. And I guess just the intimidation of Harley, which the guy just goes, okay, yeah, he got hurt. We'll cover it. So it's just like that guy had something. I know people talk about his hands, like his grip strength, and some of that stuff was just nuts. And it's almost like crazy how like awesomely cool he was. He just, and like when training with him, I was never intimidated by him, but it's just crazy to think that back in the day, people were just scared of this man. He's a top wrestler of all time for a reason, so.
Now, did he, this is going to sound like a stupid question, but I don't care. I've never met Harley Race. He's a legend. But, I mean, is he there day in and day out just intense? Or was there a, hey, I'm going to let my guard down and just kind of joke around type of Harley? Because to me, I can't imagine being a young kid trained by Harley that he would ever let his guard down and not be anything but an intense son of a gun.
Yeah. Him being older, it was I don't want to say sad to see, but like it was just like it obviously wasn't the same Harley as it once was, and I mean still I always went and shake his hand and stuff, but like he honestly was much more, I feel, you probably hear stories of people always saying like that guy is so tough, I don't want to talk to him or anything, but he was always very nice to me, and genuinely awesome. And I remember like I guess he liked joking maybe too, because I remember had his wheelchair one time, and one of the guys in my class named Zach, he was just standing there, and Harley like straight up ran him over with the wheelchair and had a cigarette and his Coke in his hand. And he was just sitting there laughing. I'm just like, what? This guy just ran over a kid. Like, what the heck? But even at that age, so he must have been a joker, I would think. Maybe back in the day as well, but if not, that's definitely what he seemed more. He seemed more like he was having fun still.
Now, last 2019, I did a tour of Canada with Wrestling Travel founder Lee McAteer. I believe Harley passed away on August 1st. And I think it was 2 days later that I met your tag team partner, your current tag team partner, training up in Montreal. So there's our link. Or certainly was a just, if you know wrestling and stuff, that's kind of a sad day. What I'm wondering is, you being 20 years old right now, are you a avid, how do I say it? A lot of people I will interview and I'll say, hey, what's your earliest like wrestling memory? Who do you remember watching? And some people are like, oh, 2006, John Cena. And I'm like, okay, I'm old.
Yeah.
But how did you fathom the greatness of Harley Race? Did you realize, the multi-time NWA champion, or were you just like, hey, dude, I'm ready to train? I mean, because it's not your fault, because you're 16 years old and you probably don't know the history. But did you know the greatness of Harley Race before you signed up there?
So I knew 8-time NWA champion, but I knew his great match with Ric Flair and stuff, and I know I remember watching this WWE video. It was like top 50. It came out it was like 50th anniversary of the company, and so they had a video of like top 50 wrestlers of all time. I think Harley was ranked 8. And I was like, dude, because at the time I'd be looking for wrestling schools. I'm like, what wrestling school? Like, I'm going to go to wrestling school. I'm not going to college. Like, I'm going to wrestling school. So I'd always be looking, and Harley's really stood out to me. The school did. So I was like, and it's so dumb, but I was like, he's top 8 of all time. So it'd be a good one to go to. But it really was convenient because I was born in St. Louis, Missouri. And I'm in Illinois. I'm pretty much raised in Illinois my whole life. But I was born in St. Louis, so my grandparents are in St. Louis. So the idea was, hey, it's wrestling school. You can't really dorm. Even though Rollins school, you were able to live at the place. So, but wrestling school, you can't really dorm like college. So, my grandparents were about an hour away because the school's in Troy, Missouri. And so I was about an hour drive there and back every day to the school. So I lived with my grandparents for 3 months during the training. So that was the reason it made a lot of sense to go there, I think. And then obviously I guess the history I'd start looking up later on. But that was the main thing about the school. And another thing was Iowa was close by home. Even though I figured out I could live there, but Davenport, Iowa is only 2 hours away from where I live today. So it was all close areas. And I mean, Seth Rollins is a huge name in the business. So that was the other reason. That was the reasoning for those schools. There's a lot of schools to choose from, but those are just, I thought the area, I thought living with my grandparents, that was perfect for Harley's. And then Rollins, I could live there, so.
Well, I mean, you're killing the 2 birds with 1 stone. The fact that you got to spend 3 months with your grandparents is probably pretty cool too, and you're saving money.
Yeah,
that's the key of this business, to save as much money.
Absolutely.
Grandparents, I know your family now. We just had a show on Saturday, and I know your parents support you because your dad came up and said hello. I got to talk to your dad. Your dad and I, dude, a lot of really cool things in common, talking about wrestling, old-time video games and all kinds of stuff. Grandparents, were they into wrestling and supporting you? Obviously, they had to support you a little bit, but were they fans in the day?
Yeah, so I think my grandma, I suppose, was kind of into it because her son, so my mom's brother, was in the wrestling. He was his Ultimate Warrior is his guy, and he was, he had the Hasbros and I don't think he had LJNs, but he had the Hasbros for sure. And I remember, so my mom or my grandma always like, she remembered The Rock, and she said she always remembered. It sounds like she remembers '90s wrestling more
Yeah, I
though.
was gonna say, wow.
Yeah, than the '80s. But obviously, it was pop culture. It was '80s wrestling was so iconic, so she had to known that. And then when I talked to my grandpa about it, he sounds like he was real. They always had. They knew about wrestling at the Chase, the Chase Auditorium, I believe. I hope I didn't screw that up. But wrestling at Chase is the huge the show in St. Louis for St. Louis wrestling. And I always hear my dad. He always says he saw. I think it was Dick the Bruiser or Dick Murdoch there. But you got a bunch of wrestling greats and Harley Race, big St. Louis wrestling, legend. So I don't think the Chase runs anymore for shows or anything, but there is a place in St. Louis that's like I know I'm veering off, but
Oh, you're good, man.
There's a place called I don't know how great the promotion is. I've never really seen any of the wrestling there, but it's called the South Broadway Athletic Club, and they run. It's just this cool looking building, and it's outside just this corner building with a neon sign, and it's got the boxing gloves on. It just looks like awesome, and I always want to wrestle there. And right now, I know they're not running with COVID, but I just it's downtown St. Louis, and it's just like I want to wrestle downtown because I'm from St. Louis. So that, but back to your question, that was probably about it with my grandparents in wrestling. Nothing, no one really liked it until I loved it, and now they're like, oh, okay, I remember this, but no one really paid attention really until they knew I was obsessed with it.
I'm expecting that answer to be like, oh yeah, my grandparents watched Bruno Sammartino, and you're like, my grandma likes The Rock, so that's awesome.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Now I want to talk to you about, wrestling at the Chase, the history. I can't help but notice, and we talked off camera, but I can't help but notice the memorabilia behind you. And we talked off camera. I'm a big history guy, and part of that history is if I'm at a show and there's a name, I wish I would have had a camera back earlier in my career, but we didn't have cell phones and stuff like that. I know I look so young and handsome that you can't believe I'm that old, but we're kind of going back and forth on the autographs and the pictures that we kind of have. And I know I'll talk to people and they'll say, oh, well, I don't get into that. I'm not a mark. You are a mark if you're in this business. There's no reason otherwise not to be, unless McMahon pulled you away from your bodybuilding career to say, hey, you want to make a bunch of money. Most of us love the business, got into it. Two questions here. The first one, when you were around 12 years old and wanting to get in and train, who was your guy? Who did you watch on TV?
Oh man, so when I was 7 years old, okay, so I remember, I guess it's a little story, but when I was 7 years old, I remember it was me, my dad, and my sister. We were just flipping the channels, and then one night, like, my sister flipped through SmackDown. The TV stayed at SmackDown. This is about 2007, okay, and it was three guys, and I think Vicky Guerrero was in a wheelchair, maybe, or maybe it was Chavo there, but something. So I think it was the Chavo Guerrero, Edge heads, so Kurt Hawkins, Zack Ryder. I swear Mr. Kennedy was there, but I'm not sure. But I know Undertaker has feud with Mr. Kennedy, and I think Vicky Guerrero was in a wheelchair. And so I remember the lights go out, and you just hear doom. I'm just like, what the heck is this? And I'm glued. And then the lights go back on. And you just see this almost 7 foot tall man, all black, And I was real big in the right before wrestling. Monster trucks was my thing, and I loved Gravedigger and the monster truck. Like, I feel like that's probably the most popular monster truck besides like Bigfoot, but love Gravedigger. I'm not really into like graveyard stuff or anything like outside of that, but this guy who's, just all about graveyard stuff, and the Undertaker just comes up and he just takes out everyone in that ring. I'm just like, this guy took out 3.5 people because someone was in a wheelchair. So I was just like, oh my God, this is nuts, And so I was glued. I was obsessed with Undertaker from that point on. And I still to this day watching his matches, like, I think he's the only one that, so I try to watch a lot of matches and study them as a wrestler now. And he is probably the only one I still watch as a fan, where I just like, and so like now that he is retired, but like, when his WrestleMania matches, when like I remember WrestleMania 28, dude, like it was that sweet chin music, and then Triple H pedigrees him, and he kicked. I legit thought the streak was over, and I was so invested in that. But then everyone else, I'd start watching. Oh, what did he do? What did he do? How can I get better? But still, to the end of his career, man, I watched that, and I just always was like, dude, kick out, don't lose, man. So when I was at 12, man, still to this day, Undertaker is my guy. He's, I think, the greatest ever. And I mean, obviously everyone has their opinion, but that is my favorite.
I was live in attendance for that WrestleMania 28 match, which was pretty cool.
Really?
Like,
wow.
I got we decided to go down there so late, and the guy that I went was like, well, we're not going to get good. I said, dude, it doesn't matter what kind of seats we get. You got to be there. It's the experience. Yeah. It's the event of WrestleMania. And I had never been to one. I wanted to go, and I've been to
absolutely
another one with Wrestling Travel, of course, in New York City. You mentioned, dude, you're so cool to me, and you don't even realize it, how much cooler you got, because I'm old school, and you mentioned pro wrestling and monster trucks. Like, they go together like peas and carrots.
Yeah.
Like ketchup and mustard. That's awesome, because that's like the holy, that's like the and I don't take it as a negative term, but that's, to us rednecks, not rednecks in any other behavior except like, this is our entertainment. I love it. Let me ask you this. Let's be topical. I don't know when this will not air this week. This will be aired after, next week, because we've got a full slate. We got Jesse Goddard's Mr. Spectacular. We had Del Wilkes. We got Chase Holiday coming up this week. But let's look forward, or people that are watching this right now on YouTube, let's go back in time to Survivor Series this Sunday.
Yeah.
They're having the Undertaker's final farewell. Do you have any predictions of what that's going to be like, or any insights that you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it could just be a cool, like, salute, he does his thing, but I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine him having, I know I heard something, it was like The Fiend and Bray Wyatt. You never know. You never know. Yeah. I don't think the guy, he says he retired, but it's just like, he loves it, and I just can't see him ever going away from it. So you never know. But I honestly think it'd be maybe a promo salute, because November 22nd, I mean, I think it's just awesome. November 22nd, 1990 to November 22nd, 2020, just 30 years exact. Like, it's both Sundays. Like, I don't think that how do you line that up? It's nuts. So I think they could have a choke slam thing going on or something, but I think it'll be a promo salute, freaking arm, he does his thing. So I'm definitely gonna be watching that.
So what happened to you when the streak ended by Brock Lesnar? Were you devastated? Were you that guy?
Oh, dude. So yeah. So I was watching. I had my friend John and I had a friend Zebby over, and my dad, and we had a WrestleMania. Everyone get together, and I try to stay close to my wrestling friends, because high school, there's not too many people that like wrestling, and at least in my high school, I was the only kid wearing the wrestling t-shirts. But anyways, so we had the WrestleMania get together, and Undertaker. I just love his in-ring ability, phenomenal. And I was a fan, all up in the Yes movement and whatever. And I remember Undertaker was the match, maybe 2 matches before, and I remember just being in my chair, and that when that third 1, 2, 3 hit, I just could not believe it. I was just and you ever like something serious happens, like if even like a death like in the family or something like that, you just like start sweating, you get this chill through your whole body. That happened. I was just like, this isn't real. And dude, I was silent the rest of the night. Daniel Bryan won his match. It was my second favorite at the time. Daniel Bryan won that match, which just meant so much, that build-up for that main event, and won both titles, and I didn't even react. That's how much Daniel Bryan and Undertaker is. I didn't even react. I legit was silent, dude, and I was so upset. But I had my friends sleep over that night, and luckily somehow I do remember like laughing like so hard at the end of the night. So it was really good that my friends are there to make me laugh at the end, because dude, I was devastated. But I do remember just laughing so hard at some dumb jokes we were just going off at the end of the night.
Yeah, that's one of those things. Like I just expected that thing to just go on forever. Like how long? So it was crazy. Now we've talked a lot of fandom and stuff, and there's some we always Sean Sabotage. Pardon me.
Very good.
We are. We always I always want to do a part 2, because always these part 1s, these first interviews, like we get into like the behind the scenes and stuff, and then when we do another interview later down the road, we can really kind of cut loose. But I want to talk about, because we talk about all this fandom things. I'm interested about Harley Race. I still have some Seth Rollins questions I could ask you. But how did this pairing with the Renegade happen? Because I'll give my little behind the scenes. Had you on a show in Wisconsin just a shade over a year ago, October of 2019, watched you guys wrestle. Now, I just watched you guys wrestle November 14th, was just a few days ago. And like a proud papa who had nothing to do with anything with you guys, it was just so nice to see that dynamic and how much you improved from that year. But there's a hidden story right there. If you're watching this 20 years down the road, you guys missed so much with COVID-19. And I know, speaking to Renegade, not on camera or anything, like in the past, he was just going, hey, I know you guys were doing some stuff for Rocket Pro, I believe. And I said, you got to look out for my boy Garrison Creed. It turned out you were matched up with Garrison Creed. Yeah. But Robbie had said, hey, I haven't been in the ring for a while, so I'm a little rusty. But you guys, when I saw your match, your footwork was great. Everything like seemed really crisp. So talk to me about meeting the Renegade and forming that tag team.
Yeah, and do you want to know, like, dealing with the COVID too? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
The lockdown sessions. Yeah.
I know.
My main question is, what have you been doing during this crazy time?
Yeah. So I guess we'll take you back. So like, this is a little story, I guess, but so probably like when I was 7 years old to like 16, 17, I just was obsessed. All I wanted was to be a WWE champion and, be the greatest of all time. That's it. That's it. That was my attitude, my mentality. That was it. And I know Kobe Bryant said it once, and he said, with our dreams, we age backwards. And I was like, what does he mean by that? And what he meant was that, when you're young, no one's taking away your dream, man. Like that's it. That's all you think about. Everyone says anything, screw off, that's my dream. But then when we get a little older, we get realistic, we get mature, and that's when, everyone with their dreams just start dropping like flies, I think, and that's something I've always kind of kept, I've always stayed that way. but probably like when I was about 17, it was like right when I went to Harley's, let's say 18. And I remember the first day of training class, it was me and two other guys. And first guy, Leland Race, doesn't ask really anything. First thing he says, "Why are you guys here? What's your goal from this?" And first guy goes, "I just want to wrestle, man. I just want to wrestle. That's it. I just want to be able to wrestle." And he goes, "Okay." Ask me next. I go, and the old answer of me would have been, "I want to be WWE champion. I want to be the greatest of all time." And, I still think my answer I said was good, but I said, I just want to make a living at this. I want this to be my full-time job. I want to make a living from professional wrestling. And then he goes, "Okay." And then the third guy to my right goes, "I want to be the best." And I'm just like, what does this tool think he is? He wants to be the best? Like, who does he think he is? Like, what does he have that he thinks about? And it's probably the competitor in me, because I may not come off very competitive, but I am, and I do want to be the best. But at that moment, I feel like I lost that old mentality I had. So, and that's something I always look back on to this day, because I was like, what does this guy think he could be the best? Like what? So all I wanted to be was a wrestler. And, it's I was 18, probably 19, probably 20, 2020, that's kind of the same with my age. But, so 2020 hit, and I remember like this coronavirus, hit, and pandemic happens, and me and Robbie, we're already tagging. We just got done with our tour in Canada. And, right back, we get back, and we're supposed to have a few more matches, and everything gets shut down, right? And I still love wrestling. Wrestling is my life, but this coronavirus might have been the best thing for me. And this might have been one of my best years of my life, because, and it's crazy thinking that, but for me. And what I really gained was I feel like my true mentality. And so, first 2 weeks coronavirus hits, I'm starting to work out, but I'm not actually working, whatever. I'm doing lazy, having it, and coronavirus hits, and 2 weeks no working out. I'm like, okay, whatever, 2 weeks. Then they're like, hey, it's gonna be another 2 weeks. So I'm like, okay, gym's closed for about a month, and me and Robbie, we're all scared. We don't know what's going on, and we're just like, hey, there's no shows, everything's shut down. So I'm just playing video games, my whole, like, every day. Hey, this is the best life ever. It's that easy voice in your head, saying, hey, you play video games, relax all day. And so about 2 months in the Rona, and I went to the bathroom, and like it was probably 3 a.m. in the morning, because during this I didn't really have any time schedule. I wasn't working, doing anything. So I just like looked myself in the mirror, man. And I think everyone needs to have a moment with themselves in the mirror, because I didn't leave the bathroom. I just stared at myself, and like I had this moment that I'll always remember. It changed my life. And like I was just like, you need to be working harder, and you need to have that mentality to be WWE champion still. Again, you need to have that mentality to be the greatest. It ain't about making money, because the money is not going to buy you anything besides what you want. What you want is to be the best. And so that changed from that day on, about 2 months in. And April, I would say, in 2020, it just changed, man. And like I worked out. Since then, I've worked out pretty much every single day, still to this day. And like working out used to be a chore for me. And I bulked up to 220, and I cut the 177, and now I'm bulking back up to 18. I'm at 186 currently. So we're still in the game, but it's not over. And it's just like that changed me. And now working out is just part of my life. Like I don't even think about it. Like it's like part of my daily routine, and I enjoy every bit of it, So that is number one thing I think coronavirus did for me, was it gave me my mentality I had. So now that that being said, me and Robbie, we try to train every week, but he can't come out, every week, so sometimes he's banged up, sometimes he's stuck at work and stuff. So we try to do what we can, and we can always be working harder though. That's just an excuse. But I just think that that the mentality changed for me, and so that I mean, I came in this to be a singles wrestler. It's my goal. It's still my goal. But I think the tag team Robbie really enjoys a lot, and he pitched the idea. He pitched the idea. Hey, you want to tag? And I was like, well, I don't know, man. I don't know if I want to tag. But he got the shirts, got everything going, got he pretty much set it all up. And I think tag team wrestling is whether I'm going to do it for my whole life or not. I think it's something everyone in wrestling should be able to have experience, because it is, it may be a little selfish, but I want to be, the best, but I think everyone needs to be able to learn off it. And just, it just helps more to yourself, man. Just knowing how to tag team wrestle is great. Gets you more opportunities. Just the other day, we're at a show and the guy's like, hey, we're low on tag teams. You guys come out the show. And so we got information passed along. If I was a single wrestler, I wouldn't have got that booking or anything. So it's just part of it. You got to expand your whole toolbox in this game. And right now, me and Robbie are just trying to, get – it's just crazy because some shows are so serious with this virus and some aren't. I don't know, some just – not saying they don't take it – they're not taking it as a joke, but they're just so – some care, some really don't. And so, some promotions, me and Robbie will have to get tested, and then they're like, you can't wrestle any other place 3 days before you go to this show. So it's because I get upset, I ask myself, am I working hard enough? Am I doing everything I could possibly do? And I'll always tell myself no, but for that, it's I can't wrestle at this place Thursday, Friday, because the place I'm booked at for Saturday isn't letting me. I had to have a test and can't be at any other place. And you try to be safe, you try to do everything right. But sometimes there's going to be a point where it's dude, I got to get everything going for me, and I just got to go out there, So, and some places it's oh, I have 3 shows this week because they don't test, So it's okay, I'll be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, setting up the ring, grinding it out. So we're doing our best, man. And you gotta just stay patient, keep working, keep grinding, and do your best, man. And that's what we're trying to do right now. And Robbie, he knows that I want to be a singles wrestler, so he lets me, veer off to these singles places too. And or I shouldn't say lets me, but he loves tag wrestling. That's all he wants.
Yeah.
And so I'll tag with him and I'll do my thing. I'm gonna do everything I can to make it. So it's just a grind, man. And you gotta just be with it. You gotta adapt to what's going on, and you gotta make something happen. Because if you don't, like I was at the beginning of coronavirus, I wouldn't be anywhere if I didn't have that moment with myself in the mirror. So my whole mentality just changed, man. And I know I could keep getting better every day. It's a goal to get better every single day. Arnold said it best. Everyone sleeps 8 hours. He sleeps 6 and he just says sleep a little faster. Because you take one of the hours that you have sleeping, you take one of those hours a day and make something. You learn from that. You do something productive. And for my case, professional wrestling, I do something that gets me better every day. I mean, that's 365 hours in a year, that you're learning. So that's just every day is a battle, a war of myself, just knowing I got to get better. So that's, I guess, in a nutshell, how coronavirus affected me. And but I think it affected me for the good, I think it really did. And I think I made the most of it. I'm in the best shape of my life. And we're still getting better every day. So that's how it is. And as a tag team, I think we're doing the best we can. As a wrestler, I'm just trying to set up everywhere, and it's tough. You used to just be able to go to these shows, and just help set up a ring, and now it's like, okay, like, am I even allowed to go to this show? And, like, is it like maybe they have a limit of 50 people? And if I go, then I drove all this way for nothing because they're like, hey, you didn't contact us. So now you have to contact everyone a lot more now, even though that was part of it before. But when people don't answer your contacts, and from the DMs or anything, it's just like, dude, am I doing everything possible? So I was telling Robbie, I'm like, we need to just be traveling, going to these shows. If we waste gas money driving 5 hours to a show and they kick us out, well, so be it. But we still tried, So that's how I look at it, man. You gotta just always be grinding, and I think you always be working harder, man. So that's how I look at it, and that's what we're gonna keep moving forward as a tag team, and me as a wrestler.
A couple things in there too that wrestling travel. I'm not going to pat ourselves on the back or pat me on the back. I know that we're always trying to help introduce people to people like on the independent scene, like trying to help you guys go, hey, there's a guy here, there's a guy here. I know and I'll leave everything that we talked about on that kind of off camera because I don't want to pat anybody on the back. But you remind me, this is very motivational what you just said there, because I said the same thing with wrestling travel. Our bread and butter was getting fans to big events like WrestleMania, Wrestle Kingdom, but now here we are. There's no traveling, so we've kind of reinvented the wheel here and started to be more of a media. And I thought, what can I do, not only to keep myself kind of viable, but I'm going to do the lockdown sessions, and I'm going to interview people, and I'm going to treat it like an infomercial so people can get to know you. And when this pandemic is over, they'll go, hey, Sabotage seems like a cool dude. He's wrestling down the road. I'm going to buy a ticket. Or more importantly, hey, I want to support this guy, and check him out on social media and maybe go to YouTube and watch some of his matches. But very motivational what you just said. Now, dropping what'll be last week, so you have to go back to last week, but as we're talking to you today, November 17th, dropping is the OVW National Champion. I did a 2-part interview with Jesse Goddard, Mr. Spectacular, Mr. Big Brother, all natural bodybuilder, and he says a lot of things. I asked him, obviously, when we go on the road, I'm like, how hard is it to maintain your diet? And he just looked at me like I'm an idiot. He goes, dude, it's the easiest thing ever. Any gas station I walk into, I can get some peanuts, I can get some hard-boiled eggs, I get some water. It's easy. Anybody that tells you that it's not, he's just making excuses for himself. And after he got done talking, almost like what you're saying, I said, you remind me of the epitome, 2 things. Preparation meeting opportunity, like he did with his bodybuilding. Then Big Brother came along. He's always wanted to be a wrestler. And then one phrase that stuck in my head that I had just heard recently within the last year, struck me with Jesse and also with you guys now. Be ready so you don't have to get ready.
Yeah.
I'm talking about taking that extra hour of doing stuff. That's fantastic. The other thing I want to end with here is, does my buddy, the Renegade Robbie, have to worry about being pushed through the barbershop window at some point?
I mean, maybe one day, right now we're doing great, together. And, there is an age gap, if you want to get technical. There's an age gap between us. It's nothing. It's not, but
it's not huge, but yeah.
One day I'm going to be 30 and he's going to be, one day I'm going to be hitting my prime, I think. And one day he's going to be, leaving it. And, as of right now, we're doing our thing. We're enjoying every second of every moment. But one day I do truly believe that he has much, I don't want to say that, because what we're doing now is awesome. I love what we're doing, but I do believe that he has some great potential in other parts of this business than he is doing right now. And I won't say it because you never know, if he could always change his mind. But I think he could be something phenomenal in this business, but just a different role. And I think one day he will go after that. And then I will, maybe barbershop window him, and he goes chase that, and then I go back to full-time single competitor because I do think he could really make it in another role in this business. I really think he could truly step up and be one of the best, you know. And it's just he loves wrestling, you know. I mean, we both love it, and he loves tag team wrestling, though. It seems like that's his passion, and you know, I'm gonna do everything that I can for him and keep grinding with him and do everything that he wants. But I do think one day, you know, there might be a super kick and he might shatter through some glass but we go on to bigger and better things, you know. So I do see that happen one day, but right now I guess I don't have any problems with him, let's say. But,
two things. I want to make sure that in case people are watching this, like the conversation and you, myself and Robbie got a chance to speak for quite a bit at the show. But if anybody's wondering, when Sabotage here says some people take it more seriously than others, I had so much trouble with the crowd noise and be able to hear some of you guys' comments because we stayed masked up, talking with each other, even though we know each other. It's just we stayed masked up, so you guys are taking it seriously. For other people that don't know, I always say Robbie J, pretty humble guy, because I met him up at NCW, called up their trainer, Jeff Reset, out of the blue. Can we come up and watch you guys train? And I got to watch in Montreal guys and girls train in French. And it took me back to my training where I said the most amazing thing happened. I don't speak a word of French, but I understood everything that was going on in the ring. So Robbie, very, very fluent in French and obviously English as well. And then I'm trying to keep track of these guys and going, hey, well, you know, how can I help out? And I get Robbie's Twitter because I'm going, hey, he lives in the States. He's up here for the summer, and hopefully maybe we can get him on a show. And I'm like, man, I'm looking at his Twitter. I'm like, this dude loves the band Stuck Mojo, and I haven't heard of Stuck Mojo in such a long time. And then I look, do a little research. The guy is the lead singer for the band Stuck Mojo, and he's such a humble dude. And but he's got a stage presence, and then he got who he is. And I'm like, dude, if I was the lead singer for a band, I'd have it tattooed on my hand when I shook your hand and be like, hey, I'm the lead singer. But I mean, dude, and doesn't he have that, like the promos that he cut for this last weekend where he's just, dude, I'm just impressed with,
he's
just quiet about it. I'd be bragging every time I saw somebody, but
no, absolutely. Yeah. He is a humble guy. And he, you know, like I was saying, he's very, you know, he may come off very quiet. Somehow I feel like I'm always a shy guy, but I feel like I do a lot more of the talking when we, you know, introduce people. But I'm like, this guy, his promos, like, and being in a band, and this guy's the most, you know, you laugh, just like he yell, scream, do everything, you know.
Yeah, dude.
He's just, and he comes off, hey, nice to meet you. And it's like, what, like, how am I doing the talking, you know? But it's maybe, you know, it could be more when you get to know him, you know. But I don't think he's a shy guy. I just think how it happens, you know. Just some people.
You know what he is? He's humble. Is what he is. He's not very. I'm gonna say he's quiet and shy, but he just, where I would be bragging about some stuff or try to get, you know, people that'll try to get it edgeways, like, hey, you know, me and Harley Race are best friends, but try to sneak that in where I'm having to ask you guys about it. But one thing I want to say to people watching, Collateral Damage, the tag team. Now, from my outside perspective looking in, you guys have a great look. You've got the long hair. You've got the matching tights. I'm a big fan of tag team wrestling, which I think is missing from a lot of the big platforms, even though the aspirations are to become a singles wrestler. Yeah. Right now, what you're doing is pretty cool, and I think that tag team mentality, like you just said, some companies, hey, we're looking for tag teams. If you're looking for a tag team and people that are taking this stuff seriously, look no further than Collateral Damage.
Well, thank you, sir. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Absolutely, that's a good promo for it. So I want to be very respectful of your time, and I want to tell people that the reason why I got to be respectful of Mr. Sabotage's time is we sat for an hour and a half before we even started recording. doing some stuff. So I do want to do a part 2 with you. And a lot of times I'll say a part 2 might come a few weeks down the line, but as soon as we can get our schedules up, because there's so much more I'd love to talk about, because I wanted to hit a little more on Seth Rollins. Wanted that. So if you're free next week, I want to record another one, because I think it'd be perfect if we recorded one next week after the Undertaker. What happens at the Survivor Series. So if I can get you on next week, we could talk a little bit of that. I want to talk about the transition from Harley's camp to Seth. There's a lot more I want to talk to you about, not touching here. But the last thing I always like to leave everybody with, I love to help independent wrestling. I love to help independent wrestlers. The fans that are watching this, if they don't know you, and you need to get better at Twitter, my friend, but where can they follow you on social media?
Yes. So my page is Sabotage Sean. That's the handle for Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Instagram is my favorite. I suppose I should get a little better at Twitter, but it's all the same for all 3 of those. And then our tag team is C Damage Inc. So for Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And then Robbie Renegade is at Robbie J Fonts is his handle. And that's for our pages. So that's all for our pages.
Here's the other thing. I talked about how cool you guys look, how cool gear you got. Where am I reaching out to you if I'm a fan and I want a T-shirt? Do you have a pro wrestling tee store, or do I just reach out to you on your socials?
Yeah, so we have Collateral Damage Inc. Big Cartel. I wrote that down. .com. I wrote that down to make sure I can remember that. That's for our tag team gear, and then for me, wrestling gear is just, I suppose it's just at the local indie that I'm wrestling at. I mean, that, like, right there, I could be working harder, right? I'm always talking about working harder. I could be working harder to get a website for myself, right? So that's always, you gotta work harder every day. So, but at the local indie, wherever I'm wrestling, I'll have my gear or my merch.
And I just want to say, Sabotage Sean is spelled Sabotage, Sabotage, but Sean is Sean.
Yep.
In case there's a couple different spellings, and we have a very European British audience too.
Yeah.
And I know you guys. What I want to talk to you, I'm so hesitant to ask you. I don't want to ask you a question, but one of the things I want to talk to you about next week on is the Canadian tour and wrestling internationally, and then talking about. Once this pandemic is over, getting you guys over to the United Kingdom, or even you yourself, depending on what Mr. Busy Guy is doing here with his music career. We'll talk about wrestling internationally. So please stay tuned for part 2. And you know what? Part 2 might even air like right after part 1, but we're going to watch The Undertaker. We're going to have these about a week apart. We're going to talk about wrestling international. We're going to talk about transition Seth Rollins. I've got so many questions. If you agree to do one, a part 2 that quickly.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, man. I was supposed to have I was going to get tested actually today, and we're supposed to have a Rollins seminar for the graduates on Monday, and with cases rising, so I wasn't going to do any bookings this week because I wanted to be safe for that seminar for Rollins, and he just postponed that actually just yesterday or so. So I'm free all week, so I'll be able to.
Perfect.
Film.
We'll try to do it again. Maybe. Well, we'll talk off the air. People are like, "What are these guys talking about?" So I want to thank Sabotage Sean. Thank you so much for being with us, and we'll catch you at part 2.
Right on. Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate it.